Do you like ribeyes? Do you like saving money? Well, you are in the right place. This is a special video today because we're going to break down a whole ribeye into individual steaks. But instead of having a regular YouTube video about it, we are going to have a deep close-up tutorial on how to do it. It's actually an excerpt from my Facebook group. So recently I opened up a Facebook group. It is called How to Save Money Cutting Meat with the Butcher Wizard. In that Facebook group, not only do we answer questions and show our meat hauls and stuff like that, we also do a monthly challenge. And last month's challenge was how to break down a ribeye. If you're a member of the Facebook group, you can join the challenge, and then I send you an email over 5 days, and it teaches you things like the tools you're gonna need, how to pick out a whole ribeye, and then how to cut it. And then we have a Facebook Live at the end and talk about what we did for that week. It's a really cool way to connect with the community, and it's been a ton of fun. So anyway, this is that tutorial from the Facebook group. I will put chapters in the description so that if you just want to go straight to the tutorial, go for it. But if you want to hear all the other stuff, please listen to that also. I mean, man, this is gonna be good. I'm really excited about it. Let's head to the tutorial. Hey everybody, this is the ribeye challenge. Really day number 2, but it's our first real dive deep into the ribeye. Basically what we're gonna do during this challenge is show you how to break down an entire whole ribeye. And why do we do that? We do that to save some money and also to get a better quality steak. Let's also talk where we're gonna get it. So I get my stuff from Costco, but they have it at Sam's Club. They have it at your warehouse stores. Any place that cuts their own ribeyes is gonna have this whole ribeye roast that you can ask for. So you can even get them at some local grocery stores. You're just gonna have to ask behind the counter and say, can I get a whole ribeye? They're gonna look at you funny because nobody buys a whole ribeye. But again, I can't wait to hear about the stories of people just buying these things because you go back to the counter and you're like, I need to buy a whole ribeye, and they're like, why? We're part of the crazy few that are buying whole subprimal cuts and cutting them ourselves. So Costco, Sam's, the Chef Store is a great one too. It's US Foods. They're open to the public. When I went to my Costco and my Sam's, they got them out there ready for you to pick up. So again, you might have to go and search around a little bit, but it'll be worth it, I promise. For those of you who may not want to go do a whole ribeye with us for this challenge, I want to provide an alternative. So maybe you don't have freezer space, maybe you don't have enough people in your house to facilitate an entire ribeye. You can get a rib roast. So I got this rib roast from my local grocery store, and it's $15.49 a pound. So it's not as much of a savings as getting the whole ribeye, but it's still cheaper than getting the cut ribeye steaks. So you can take this rib roast, which is just a ribeye that they just give you a bigger chunk of, and you can cut steaks out of it. And I'm gonna show you how to do that tomorrow. But again, if you don't wanna go the whole, if you don't wanna do the whole big boy, then grab yourself a rib roast and you can still participate in the challenge. A couple of things you're gonna need, besides meat being the first thing you're gonna need. The second thing you're gonna need is a nice big cutting board. Now, this is the biggest cutting board that I have. You can see as we put the ribeye on the cutting board, we can put the whole thing on there. I forgot how big it is. Let's get a measurement. It is 20 by 15, my particular cutting board. So again, the biggest cutting board you have, if you have 2 of the same thickness, go ahead and put them together, to make one big one, but the bigger the cutting board, the better. As far as knives go, the other big thing, we need meat and we need knives. Basically, these are 2 non-negotiables. If you have a 10-inch chef's knife, the bigger the knife is gonna be better because we need to get through this entire cut. So if you have a smaller knife, it's gonna be a little bit more of a sawing action. It's gonna be a little harder for you. You can still do it. It's just gonna be a little bit more difficult for you. So big chef's knife. This is I believe this is a 10-inch. This is a 10-inch chef's knife. This one actually, now I gotta weigh it. Now I gotta measure. This one actually is an 8-inch. This is an 8-inch chef's knife. So if you have an 8-inch chef's knife, you're good to go. We have also the Butcher Wizard line, of course, of butcher knives. This is a 10-inch breaking knife. This works great for this preparation. Again, I can do the entire cut all the way down, and that little curved end to the top helps you get that nice sliding motion and cut it in one fell swoop. So, lots of alternatives for you. I will leave a link in the description or the caption of this video if you want to pick up one of the Butcher Wizard knives. We have the 10-inch breaking knife and the 6-inch boning knife. We're not going to use the boning knife so much for this project, but we use it in other projects. If you want to pick one up, again, I'll leave the link in the caption. So basically that is it. So it's very, very simple. We need meat, we need a big ribeye, we need a big cutting board, a big knife. Other things you might want to get on hand are plastic bags, like plastic Ziploc bags, paper towels. You're gonna need some paper towels because this can get a little messy. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna use a lot of those. So grab some paper towels. If you have a vacuum sealer, this would be a great time to bust that out because once we cut this whole thing, you're more than likely not gonna eat the whole thing in one sitting. So we're gonna have to store it and freeze it. So those are basically your items that you're gonna need for this challenge. All right, here's your homework for this weekend. So you're gonna go buy your meat. You're gonna go round up all of your supplies. And then I also want you to go ahead and go to your local grocery store, take a picture of how much the cut ribeyes are in your area and post it in the group. I want to know throughout the country what are people getting the ribeyes for. I know in different areas of the country we got different pricing, so I want to know. So go ahead and take a picture of the prices, or just put it in a post in the Facebook group, and then show me a picture of your setup. You can show me the picture of your knives or your cutting board or just the meat that you bought. Don't open it yet. We're gonna get to that on Friday. So, just keep sending pictures. If you have any questions on what to buy, post it in the Facebook group. Either I will answer it or other people in the group will answer it. Here we go, man. We are getting started. So let's get today. Let's take the time and gather all our supplies and be ready for the Friday post, which will be the actual ribeye breakdown. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all for being here. I will see you on the next one. All right, here we go. The wait is over. This is the ribeye breakdown in our ribeye challenge. So I'm gonna go through, and I'm gonna get to go a little slower than I do in some YouTube videos. I wanna show you the intricacies of it. I'm gonna get some close-up shots so that you really can get a handle for what we're doing today. So again, I got my sheet pan, I got my ribeye, I got my knife, I got my paper towels. We are ready to go, and let's get to it. First thing we're gonna do is take this puppy out of the bag. I'm gonna show you how to carefully do that, causing the least amount of mess possible. The first thing we're gonna do is kind of just let it sit here for a minute, and all this myoglobin, this liquid that's in here, is going to pool to one side. So then we're just gonna cut an X here at the top, and then just pull it out of the bag as easy as possible. So. Trying not to cut the underside of it. And once we've freed enough of it, you just pull it out of the bag. Trying to get a little closer to the sink. Pull it out. Let the plastic and the ribeye, or let the plastic and the liquid go into the sink, and we put it on our paper towel. Grab another paper towel and just kind of dry it off, and then we'll move it to our cutting board. It's that easy. So the rib eye comes from the rib primal cut. So on one side is the chuck, and then the other side is the short loin. So you'll notice as we cut through this that some of these, you can see those characteristics even starting to form. So what I'm gonna do, just so we can see a little better, I'm gonna go ahead and square off this end right here. If you were gonna do a prime rib, you might do that with your first cut and make a bigger, a 3 ribeye, kind of 3 width, 3 inches, 4 inches, however many people you're trying to feed. You can make a prime rib off that. But I'm gonna do this just so we can get a nice look at what we're doing here. So this is our chuck end of our ribeye. You can see that characteristic that that ribeye is known for is that stream of fat that goes around in the middle. So you can see that's already starting to form. If we go on the other side, flip it around, you can see this is the short loin side. So it looks almost like a New York strip. It's getting closer to that. So this is the leaner side of the ribeye. So basically our plan of attack here is we're just gonna start cutting steaks off of this ribeye. And you can see, and I'll show you the points at which it starts to change. The fat inside, the different characteristics of each ribeye. It's very different from the first cut to the last cut. So it's interesting. So when you're buying it from the grocery store, you can pick out, if you like that ribeye cap, go ahead and make sure you get one that has a nice ribeye cap. But this way, you can have the best of all worlds and be able to make your prime rib with the ribeye cap or not. You want it more lean, you want it more fatty. I mean, you get that all from this one Primal cut. So what we're gonna do is just very, very simply is start slicing your ribeyes, however thick that you want them. So I'm always really bad at estimating lengths and stuff, but like I just, this looks good. We're just gonna come down, and as you're using your knife, you cut through that top layer and then slide your knife out back. And what you're gonna take your wrist and go up, and what that's gonna do is cause that tip of that knife to really do its job and cut all the way through. So here is our ribeye steak. We're gonna cut all of them, and then I'm gonna come back and show you how to trim them. It's really, my preference is to trim the individual steak, especially if you're a beginner, because once you get really good at this, you can trim this whole thing, and then you don't have to trim each individual steak, but you run the risk of cutting the good stuff, cutting some good meat. So do it again. Say if you want a thinner one, cut a thinner one. If you want a thicker one, cut a thicker one. It's that easy. And we'll come back and trim a lot of that off. Or we'll come back and trim some. Sorry for my squeaky floorboards. This is like right where I'm standing is like this. I live in an older house, and it's like, oh my goodness, it always is acting up when I don't want it to. The key here is just trying to cut nice and straight and then all the way down so that we get a nice even steak. You can see as we cut, this is the ribeye cap right here, that's gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller. So I'll show you that when we come back and trim them. I do recommend that you try to get this as cold as possible. It makes it easier to cut. The longer it sits out, the more squishy it's gonna be and the harder it is to cut. So when you get down to this last piece, you're just gonna have to make some decisions. Do I want two bigger ones? Just because we're gonna cut this piece into two. So these last ones are gonna be a little big. So there is our ribeye steaks. Now let's go and we'll trim them up. All right, so now we're gonna come back through and just trim up our steaks to where they look nice. That tail, so for all of them it's that nice tail, for all of them it's that tail we're gonna kind of cut off, but then that makes a nice beautiful round ribeye steak. Now we can look at the bottom of it here too and see if there's any kind of connective tissue. This is where the rib eye connects to the actual rib. So sometimes we'll see some a little bit. There's not really much on this one, but there is our trimmed rib eye. And we just go through and do that to all of them. Now, trimming. Now, this is a hot button topic for my YouTube videos. So if you like to keep that fat on there, please go ahead. This is why we do this. It is because you get to customize it however you want to customize it. So I'll cut fat off on my YouTube videos and everyone will say, oh, what are you cutting the fat off for? What are you doing that for? What are you doing this for? It's up to you. It's completely up to you. You trim them however you want to trim them. That is the beauty of it. When you get them in the grocery store or the butcher shop, you just got to kind of take what they give you. So there's a little bit here on the bottom. We might take a little bit of that off. You're just taking a look at it. And see, these make this nice, beautiful ribeye steaks. I mean, these are good. Good looking steaks. We'll take a look at the anatomy of the ribeye steak. So you have the eye here, and then you have this piece right here, which is that spinalis, which is the ribeye cap, which is the most delicious part of the entire cow. So definitely enjoy that ribeye cap. The other thought is, what do we do with all this trim? All this trim, we're gonna grind it. That's how we're gonna get total utilization out of this ribeye. There's really, if you grind the fat and the trimmings, there is really no waste on this ribeye. On a ribeye, there's no waste. This one was the last cut, and you can see that it almost looks like a New York strip because it's on that short loin end. So you can definitely see how it all kind of comes together, how the cow anatomy works here. But imagine grinding all this up and then you get a little ribeye in your burgers, man, in your burger grind. It's great. What I usually do is when I'm doing these projects is I will save all this in a Ziploc bag and freeze it. And then whenever I get enough of it, I'll break out the grinder and we will grind up everything. Go. I'm going to go through and trim up the rest of these, and then we'll come back and we'll talk and we will debrief on what we've done today. This is our rib roast that I bought from the grocery store. It was tied up and I just took the plastic off. Now this is actually also got the bones on it, and what they do is they cut the bones off and then tie them back on so you can carve it as a prime rib. But what we're gonna do today is we're just gonna take this rib roast and then just cut steaks out of it. This is a really helpful technique on those times of year around Christmas time or Easter or something where the grocery stores are putting them on sale. You can load up and they have a really great sale, and then you can cut ribeye steaks out of them. If you don't, you're like, what am I gonna do with 12 prime ribs? Well, you're gonna make ribeyes out of them. So again, what we're gonna do is just same procedure, just cut steaks out of them and come back and trim them up. But it's a good way to save money, especially if they're running sales on different things and you're like, oh, now I'm equipped with the knowledge to do way more than just make a prime rib out of it. I can now make delicious ribeye steaks. And it's still, this rib roast is still cheaper still much cheaper than the cut steaks at the same grocery store. So we're going to go over all that here in a minute. Go over all the cost savings. All right, so here's all of our steaks, our trim. Let's break down the numbers. So let's see. Our yield from this whole ribeye was 14 ribeye steaks and then 3.5 pounds of trim that are going to make some delicious, delicious hamburgers. We'll throw it in with some like a chuck roast or throw it in with some sirloin, something like that, and grind it up, and it's going to make great hamburgers. So the whole ribeye was 14.7 pounds and cost me $12.59 per pound. The ribeye steaks that I bought from the grocery store were $18.99 per pound. So we have saved $6.40 per pound. Even if you take out the trim, we're still way ahead. So the rib roast was $15.49 a pound. So we saved about $3.50 on there. I know there was some bones on there and then some loss that way. So it's a good thing in a pinch. And if you have, if those sales are available where they do them for like, I don't know, like $10, $6 a pound, whatever they do for those special occasions, that's a good way to get some really cheap ribeyes. So there we go. Here's our challenge. Thank you all so much for being part of it. Next is we're gonna do a Facebook Live on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're gonna talk about what we did. Like I want your questions. I want to know if you ran into any trouble, if you how much you saved, how much stuff costs in your area. We're just gonna have a good Q&A session on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live. So block that time off, and then we block that time off. It'll just it'll be as long as we got questions and people are talking. We'll keep doing it. So again, try this. Dive into this, and good luck to you. If you have questions, go ahead and post them in the Facebook group this weekend. If you run into some trouble, take a picture, snap a video, whatever. Or take a video, snap a picture, I don't know, whatever. But put it in the Facebook group. I'll be there all weekend. We'll answer these questions. And then, hey, we are saving money and having some delicious steaks. We are saving money and having delicious steaks. And no secret about what I'm having for dinner tonight. Ribeyes. The next part would be the Facebook Live. It's a private Facebook Live where we can answer everyone's questions. Then they can show and post the pictures of the work that they've done. Here are a few of the posts from the last challenge. Leave a link in the description to join the Facebook group so you don't miss out on the next challenge. Thank you.